Hi, it's Mrs. Sharples here, and great to see you. I'm here with your English lesson. This is for Tuesday, so your lesson 2 for English this week. We have been learning about the story of Little Red Riding Hood. The past few weeks, we've been learning about traditional tales and what they have in common, their different features. Today, we're going to be thinking about one of the characters. It's the bad character in the Little Red Riding Hood. Remember that the Little Red Riding Hood, just like lots of other fairy tales, has good and bad characters. We're going to be thinking about how the stories of the Little Red Riding Hood is often told in different versions. And I gave you a few of those yesterday to have a look at. And we're going to be thinking about how this story of Little Red Riding Hood has been told from different perspectives. So traditionally, the story is told from the viewpoint, the perspective of Little Red Riding Hood. But today we're going to be thinking about the wolf from the perspective of what he thinks about it and about what happened. Okay, so this lesson is called Mr. Wolf's Dilemma. We're going to write a letter from the wolf, pretending to be the wolf. And I would like, so just like yesterday, your success criteria, if you look here, I'd like all of you to have a go at writing the letter, to use sentences, okay, that uses listening to the sounds is always the most important with your spellings. Neatest writing you can possibly do, please, always joined if you can, finger spaces, capital letters, full stops, and adjectives. So even if you only manage to do a few sentences, that's the most important part. Then, if you would like to make your writing a higher level, then I would love for you to have a go at using a conjunction. And I show you that using the jigsaw piece. So that's and, but, so, because. Then you might even like to have a go at using adverbs. Like quickly, okay, words that have "ly" on the end to help tell your story, or an expanded noun phrase, so using 2 adjectives with a comma in, or even to write a list. So we're going to talk about this more and more as we go on, but just so you know what we're looking for to start with. Okay, now of course on the OneDrive I have put a link to this PowerPoint here so that you can open it and have a look at it if you like. Here, this is the story of an example from the wolf's point of view. But there are so many different ones that I am going to read you one now. This isn't the one that's linked. This is called The Wolf's Story, and this is from the perspective of the wolf, but the one that you have in the PowerPoint is from the perspective of the wolf. But again, it's not this one. There's so many different versions of it. So you can watch both if you like to help you get ready to write. This is the wolf's story. What really happened to Little Red Riding Hood? No, please, look at me. Would I lie to you? It was the old woman who started it. I did nothing wrong, would I? We hit it off from the beginning. Not everyone likes a wolf, or do they? Look at you. You're not certain. Would you like to come and sit a bit closer while I tell you about the kid? I don't bite. No, sure. Okay, well, up to you. Anyway, look, I did odd jobs. Trying to make sure you can see. I did odd jobs for the old woman. Called her grandma. We were close. I put up shelves, did the shopping, tidied the garden. I even altered her clothes, sewed on buttons, that sort of thing. I'm versatile. Sort of a new wolf. Vegetarian. Cuisine, a speciality. If I eat any more lettuce, I'll turn green. But that's too much information. Are you sure you wouldn't like to sit just a little closer? So this wolf is very different to the traditional one, or he's trying to be, isn't he? He's trying to help seem like he's the good character and not the bad guy. Every week, the kid called with a basket of toffee. I tell you, that toffee was so bad it made Grandma's teeth stick together. And you don't want Toffee messing up your false teeth. But Grandma looked forward to seeing the kid. She even made a red cape so that she could see her coming. Did anyone ever make me a cape? Me? I didn't like the kid being there. She never spoke to me. She seemed nervous. Can you believe that? When Little Red was there, I felt left out. I tried to join in. I even offered to eat the toffee, and that stuff could ruin a wolf's good teeth. So you can see how I tried, but they just ignored me. The day it happened was like this. I saw the kid coming with her big basket of toffee, and I was out looking for the fresh herbs in the forest, and I tried to pass the time of day with her, but she pretended not to know me, and I hurried on. That's the sort of kid she was. Like I'm frightening, eh? Then I scooted back the quick way to warn Grandma to hide her teeth from the toffee. The kid always took her time. Took a long time to get there. You know how slow kids are. When I got back, Grandma was reaching for her best dress in the wardrobe and couldn't reach the hook. And this is the part where it all went wrong. I tried to help her get it, but she fell over right in the wardrobe. And you know how it is. Grandma got a teeny tiny bump on her head that knocked her cold, and the kid was banging on the door. All right, I panicked. It looked bad. Not everyone trusts a wolf. I thought they might say I'd done something bad to Grandma. Me? Anyway, I shut the wardrobe, put the dress on, sort of thought I could cover it up. Act like Grandma would act like Grandma till she was better. I have to admit it. I don't have the best legs for a frock. So I jumped into the bed. Anyone would have thought I was Grandma. Then the kid came in and started acting strange. She was pretending to be scared again, and she wouldn't come close. Oh, Grandma, she said, what big eyes you have. Got rid of my glasses, I told her. I've got these new contacts. Really saw when you first put them in. Make anyone's eyes look big. It was the first time we'd had a talk, and she wasn't that bad, really. Looked good enough to eat, if you know what I mean. Oh, Grandma, she said, what big ears you have. Now, these are good ears, but I have to admit they aren't a lot like Grandma's, and of course, they're pretty furry as well. Oh, these old things, I said, and changed the subject. Oh, Grandma, she said, what big teeth you have. And this was what made it worse. She was about to pop one of her sticky toffees into my mouth, and I couldn't stand that. So I leapt out of bed, and it may have looked as though I was going to eat her or something. Then she started screaming, Wolf, Wolf, you've eaten my Grandma. Do I look the sort of wolf who goes around eating grandmas? It got worse. The door swung open. There was a woodman there, the size of a tree, with an axe. I shouted for help, but Grandma was still out cold in the wardrobe. She would tell you the truth. She really would. The woodman took a swing at me, and I was this close to being a fur wrap. I jumped out of that window with the sound of the axe crashing down behind me. I ran all the way down to town. And I have to tell you, a wolf in a dress is an embarrassed wolf. People were laughing, and that's not nice. Anyway, thanks for listening. And if you ever want any odd jobs doing around the house, just get in touch. Here's my card. I don't charge much. I'm a neat worker, completely trustworthy, and I won't make a meal of it. No, please, look at me. Would I lie to you? So I'll let you decide for yourself if you think that was a wolf that could be trusted and whether you believe his side of the story. So I'm going to go back to sharing this here with you. Okay. Now, there were a few differences, weren't there, in that story? And here is another one, another version. I think it would be good. Have a listen to this. Again, it's from the wolf's perspective. Listen to this carefully. This is getting you ready to write because you're going to pretend to write a letter from the wolf. Okay.
And this is the story of how I was driven from the woods by a horrible little girl and her friends. One day, I was minding my own business, enjoying the sunshine as most often do, when along came this girl called Little Red Riding Hood, asking all kinds of questions. She was. Did I know the way to her grandma's house? Was I by myself? Did it look like she brought the right things for a picnic? Well, I've always been told not to talk to strangers, but she seemed safe enough. And she looked so lost and lonely. I thought I'd keep an eye on her. There were some funny thoughts in those woods. Well, she met some dangerous creatures, all right. A bird who kept throwing its friends at her. A mole who wouldn't stop teasing her with dandelions. Even a bear, for goodness sake. Soon later, I found Grandma's house. And would you believe it? Grandma was at the door, terribly mad she was. Kept asking me to leave the woods and never come back. And I got to thinking, because everyone had said how good she was, and if Grandma didn't see right at all, what if this wasn't really Grandma? What if someone had locked away the real Grandma and was waiting for Little Red Riding Hood in disguise? What a wicked plan that would be. So I insisted quite strongly that the fake Grandma let me in, and eventually she did. I put her in a cupboard for safekeeping while I looked for the real Grandma, but I couldn't find her anywhere. Well, when I was a young wolf, my grandma always told me that if I wanted to really understand someone, I should try walking in their shoes. So that's what I did. I put on Grandma's wig, and I put on Grandma's nightgown, and I got in Grandma's bed. And that's when Little Red Riding Hood turned up. I admit it didn't look good, but if Little Red Riding Hood had listened to me even for a moment, she would have understood what a big misunderstanding it all was. But she was awful. First, she was very rude about my appearance. Then, she tried tickling me with feathers. She used dandelions to aggravate my hay fever and make me sneeze. And then, you won't believe this, she threw the bear's honey all over me and made a swarm of bees attack. I was terribly frightened, and I ran away and never came back. And that's the whole story.
The Little Red Riding Hood app from Nosy.
Okay, so we've thought carefully about the wolf's perspective now. We've seen two different versions that think about the story of Little Red Riding Hood from the perspective, the point of view of the wolf. And we are going to do some writing today. Oh, there we go. They're going to do some writing today that helps you to write a letter from the point of view, the perspective of the wolf. Mr. Wolf knows he was very naughty. He knows he shouldn't have tried to eat Little Red Riding Hood, and he is very sorry. He misses his friends in the forest, and he misses his home. However, the woodcutter told Mr. Wolf he was never allowed back. How can Mr. Wolf persuade the woodcutter to let him back into the forest? What would you do? What do you think he could say that could make the woodcutter change his mind? So I've written an example letter for you. Dear Mr. Woodcutter, I am really sorry for what happened in the woods, and I was frightfully, let me move that wolf out the way. I was frightfully driven from the woods by a horrible little girl and her friends. I was minding my own business and enjoying the gorgeous bright sunshine when along came this little girl asking me all sorts of questions. Where is her grandmother's house? And did it look like she bought the right food for a picnic? Do you recognize this? I used some of this from the video story that I've just shown you. She looked so lost and alone, so I thought I could keep an eye on her because there are some funny sorts in the dark, deep woods. Ooh, expanded noun phrase. When I finally found Grandma's white house, she was terribly rude, kept asking me to leave the woods and never come back! Exclamation mark, yeah. Everyone kept saying how nice she was, but this grandma didn't seem nice at all. What if that wasn't the real grandma? So I insisted that this fake grandma let me in. I quickly put her in a creaky cupboard for safekeeping, whilst I looked for the real grandma. It's all just a big misunderstanding. I had the grandma's clothes on because I was trying to walk in grandma's shoes. I was just trying to understand where she had gone. Little Red was very rude. Small sentence, look, short sentence for impact. She tried tickling me with feathers. She used dandelions to make me sneeze, and she threw honey all over me. A swamp of bees attacked me. I would like to return to the woods, but I expect an apology from Little Red. Yours sincerely, the wolf. So you're going to be writing a letter today to the woodcutter to explain why he thinks the wolf should be allowed to live back in the forest. But Mr. Wolf isn't sure what he should write. I'm pretending here for you to help you get ready to write. Can you help him? How do letters begin? Of course, you need to write, Dear Woodcutter, please. Here's another example. Okay, look. Dear Woodcutter, I am terribly sorry for trying to eat Little Red Riding Hood. I know that I was awfully wrong. Can you see those adjectives in red that I've put on here? Terribly and awfully. I would like to come back and live in the forest because, so there's your subordinating conjunction there with because. I promise, yours sincerely, Mr. Wolf. Okay, so if you're finding it tricky to start, you could use this idea here and carry on. But let's talk a little bit more about this. Look, there's two letters here. This one here says, Dear Woodcutter, I am very sorry for trying to eat Little Red Riding Hood. I won't do it again. Please let me come back to the forest. Now that is fine. Look, it's got capital letters, full stops. It's got 3 sentences in there. It knows how to start with dear and finishing with a from or yours sincerely. Doesn't have enough adjectives really. It doesn't have a conjunction like because. Look over here. This is a bit better, look, isn't it? Okay. Dear Woodcutter, look, it's even got the paragraphs that we've been working on. I'm very sorry for trying to eat lovely Little Red Riding Hood. I know it was wrong and I feel terribly guilty about it. I would like to come back to live in the forest because I miss my family and friends so much. I promised that I would never try to eat Little Red Riding Hood again. And I also promised to be helpful to everyone who lives in the forest and not to scare people. I am sorry for upsetting everyone. Okay, so you've got the adverb here with terribly. What else is good about it? I am very sorry for eating lovely Little Red Riding Hood. So there's the expanded noun phrase with the 2 adjectives. I want to live in the, we could say beautiful forest, or add an adjective in, couldn't we? I miss my family and friends so much. We could put an exclamation mark there because we want the reader to say with emotion and feel what we're feeling. I promised that I would never try to eat Little Red Riding Hood again. I also promise, and okay, I found a conjunction. So if we go back to the success criteria, like I've put it here, I've tried to write another one that then starts to use some more of these down here to make it a higher level piece of writing. So Dear Mr. Woodcutter, I am really sorry for what happened in the woods. I was frightfully driven from the woods by a horrible little girl and her friends. I was minding my own business and enjoying the gorgeous bright sunshine when along came this nosy bossy girl asking me all sorts of questions. Where is her grandmother's house? Did it all look like she'd bought the right food for a picnic? She looked so lost and alone, so I thought I would keep an eye on her, because there are some funny sorts of things in the deep dark wood. Funny sorts in the deep dark wood. When I finally found Grandma's white house, she was terribly rude. So what I've tried to do here in different colors for you, look, can you see the adverbs in yellow? Can you, so the ly, really, frightfully, there's another one there. Horrible and little, gorgeous and bright for the adjectives, the expanded noun phrases. Got question marks, which is again how you make a higher level piece of writing for year 2. The conjunction and, the conjunction so. We've got a comma down here. She's tickling me with feathers. Oh, this and one is different color because it's when you do the commas in a list. He's listing the different things that she did. She tried tickling me with feathers. She used dandelions to make me sneeze, and she threw honey all over me. So he's listed the different things, which is why he's got a comma between the first 2 and an and between the last 2. There's an exclamation mark. This could also then have paragraphs where that would then take it as well to make it a better piece of writing. Okay, what you need to do today then is write is to write a letter from the point of view of the wolf, and take a photograph of it. Do it as neat as you possibly can, of course, because we're going to see it, and ask your mums or dads to email it across to Mrs. Bolton and I, and Mrs. Barton, of course, so that we can have a look at it and give you some feedback on it. Keep working hard. We miss you guys loads. Stay safe. And that is the end. So get writing.